Your brain is designed to think as little as possible. So for example, if you're monitoring a person's brain activity while they're trying to learn a new skill, like something like driving, there's this flurry of new activity throughout their brain. But as this skill becomes more and more automatic, as it becomes more routine, as it becomes second nature, the amount of brain activity drops down to almost nothing. You don't even need to think about driving anymore. It just happens. It's automatic. It's mindless. And that's all thanks to a brain structure called the basal ganglia. Now hang in there while I talk about some neuroscience, because I'm going to apply this to your life in a moment. All this is thanks to the basal ganglia, which is a structure in your brain, and it takes complex routines that require lots of conscious effort and compiles them down into unconscious routines that you can do without even thinking about them. It's how you can learn to read and write without even thinking about it. Now, your basal ganglia doesn't know what habits are good or bad. It simply observes and records the actions you take and the rewards that you get from those actions. And based on that information, it compiles them into routines, into habits. And that's why people spend their entire lives moving in circles, repeating the same habits over and over again. These habits of mind are called traits. They're personality traits. Now, traits are something completely different from knowledge or skills. You see, knowledge and skills can be taught. Traits can't be taught. If you want to learn a skill like how to cook an omelet, I can show you one time and you can remember it for your entire life. If you want to remember a piece of information like Paris is the capital of France, I only need to tell it to you one time and you can remember it for your entire life. In contrast, traits can only be acquired over long periods of time through lots of repetition. Now, if you can figure out a person's traits, you can figure out their future. Simply look into the past, into how they behaved, how they acted in the past, and then project that forward, assuming that they don't change, assuming that they're the same person the entire time, and see how those traits play out for the rest of their life. And most of the time, you're going to be completely right. It's like for the first 15 years of your life, your brain compiles all of your actions and all the actions of people around you that it observes down into the structure called a personality. And that personality is like a rocket ship with a set trajectory that cannot be altered, that just flies off. Have you ever had somebody tell you something and then you're like, yeah, I should totally do that, but then you don't? That's okay, it doesn't mean you're stupid. That happens to everyone. And that's because you have to recognize people's conscious minds are not fully in control of their own actions. Now, I know that sounds a little disturbing, but when you let it sink in, it makes a lot of sense. A lot of your choices and actions are determined for you by your subconscious traits, something you don't even think about. Every trait you've learned has the same structure. First, it has a trigger, then it has a routine that gets executed. Then at the end of the routine, it gets a reward which satisfies some sort of craving. And what you crave depends on your values. More on that in a minute. And once you know that, you know the secret formula of changing your personality. Now, one trait I wanted to change about myself was spending too much money. And that's a really common trait that a lot of people struggle with. Now, the trigger is getting paid, getting some money into your checking account. As soon as you see those digits pop into your checking account, you start fantasizing about all the things you can get that you want with those dollars. There's the trigger. And that's what starts your routine, which is opening up Amazon.com, going to your local shopping mall, wherever you like to buy stuff at or spend your money. And the reward you get is that tiny bit of happiness which satisfies your materialistic cravings. Now that I understand that, how do we change my behavior? What I did was, every time the money is deposited into my checking account, I don't leave it in there. I don't trust myself with it, like to resist spending it because of some sort of willpower. I take the money that I don't need to pay bills and automatically deposit it into my E-Trade account. And once it's in my E-Trade account, I invest it by buying stocks. And to me, gambling my savings on the stock market is really exciting and rewarding. It's fun. It replaces that reward that I used to get from buying crap that I didn't really need. Let's talk about another trait I wanted to change in myself. Being unassertive. Now, if you're an unassertive person, your way of dealing with conflict is to simply ignore it, run away from it, or give into it right away. Because you hate conflict, you want other people to like you, so you try to avoid conflict as much as possible. If you're an unassertive person and you're negotiating the price with another seller, all you're really thinking about is getting that other person to like you. So that other person liking you, not getting a good deal, is your reward. And if you do haggle them for a good deal, instead of feeling good, you feel shame, which is a negative reward. You feel like you've been unfair and you've been mean and you feel guilty. It's like negative feedback to your basal ganglia telling you not to repeat that behavior again because you feel shame Instead, in order to be assertive in a negotiation, you got to change the reward dynamic in your brain. Instead of thinking about how you want to be liked and how you want to be fair to your partner, you need to think about how you can get a good deal. Now, if you want to be assertive, you need to stop focusing on being liked and focus on the satisfaction of getting a good deal. The happiness that brings from successfully getting a good deal, that is your reward. And that's how you learn to approach conflict differently. That's how you learn to be more assertive. This concept first really clicked in my head when I was talking to my brother, who is more assertive than me. And he was telling me a story about how he bitched out a coworker, just went ballistic on the guy at work, and then eventually got his way. And at the end of his story, he told me, it just feels really good to let it all out and let somebody know how you feel. That's the key. Another thing I wanted to change about myself was being shy in public. I wanted to be able to go up and talk to new people in public without feeling bad. And I realized that it was because of the negative rewards I was sending to myself every time I tried to talk to somebody in public. Like, if you go up to a stranger and talk to them in public, you get this negative reward of shame because you feel like you're bothering them. You're like, wow, this person doesn't want to talk to me, I'm bothering them. Instead, I changed that reward dynamic, where if I didn't go up and talk to somebody that I wanted to, I would feel shame and disappointment for letting myself down. And if I did go up and talk to them, I would feel reward for pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. And talking and socializing with other people, that is a very rewarding thing to do in and of itself. Another trait you might want to change about yourself is a smoking addiction. So smoking has physical factors, but we're just talking about the psychological factors, the psychological addiction to smoking. So think about your triggers first. What triggers you to want to smoke? Is it when you're bored? Is it when you're driving? Is it when you're drinking? Think about those times when your smoking habit gets triggered. And then look at the rewards that you get from smoking. Maybe it's just fidgeting and playing with something between your fingers. Or maybe it's a social reward from being able to go outside and talk to other people. Or maybe it's just a reward from being able to take a break off of work. And once you've identified those, you can make a plan to change your habits. Whenever you encounter one of your smoking triggers, redirect it to a different routine that also gives you the same reward. Like, if you realize your reward for smoking is being able to take a break and socialize with friends, then when you feel that urge to smoke, take a break, go and socialize with a coworker for a couple minutes, so that you can start to reprogram your brain, starting to master training your subconscious to being a focused machine that gives you the results you want rather than doing whatever it feels like doing. This was Paul Vadiga here with another self-help video. Drop a comment down below. I read all of them. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can see more of my self-help videos. And I wish you the best of luck improving yourself in the future. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.